here's what I wanted to discuss with you. And if you guys are interested in discussing, I'd like to hear your viewpoint. If you've been in a relationship for a while with someone and it seems like it's wonderful as far as your love and your intimacy and what you talk about and all that kind of stuff, why is it that it loses the excitement? What do you guys think is going on with that? And that's what Esther Perel talks about. A lot of people say, like, you want to have a death sentence for your sex, get married. And why do you think people say that? So that's my discussion today. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that, and I'll offer some words of knowledge from Esther Perel. Paul, you're saying it's boredom. So yeah, I mean, it's the same person, so it's there's got to be something you could do. But what Esther suggests is that you can never lose your own autonomy. You can never lose your own passions. And what happens sometimes is that, when a woman, gets into a traditional marriage or relationship and she has kids and she's focusing on her kids and focusing on her work and all this other stuff, she forgets to focus on herself. And her partner finds her to be, like you said, boring. Anyway, that's part of it. It's a pretty complicated question. Hi, MILF Man and Brian. So you're saying open relationships are the answer to, so Brian says open relationships are the answer to what happens if you are in a long-term relationship with someone and it's starting to get stale or old. What can you do besides bringing in like sex toys and lingerie and things like that? So MILFman, the topic is bringing passion back into your relationship before you go and cheat. And not that anybody would. But yeah, Bryson's saying maybe things get too routine. So how do you get it so it doesn't get routine, but you still have the intimacy? It's such it's like almost like a catch-22. If you got this, like for example, when I was just friends with my husband at the time, I would tell him everything, and I didn't really care about what he thought or anything. And then when I became more intimate with him, I stopped telling him as much. And that actually led to more mystery. So sometimes it's good to have that mystery. And so here's some of Esther Perel's quotes. I'm going to give you some quotes from Esther Perel. Sorry about that, Instagram people. Mystery is not always about traveling to new places. It's about looking with new eyes. Love enjoys knowing everything about you, but desire needs mystery. So if you want to have desire, you don't have to go to swinging, and you don't have to, and date night may work. And Brian is saying, I want to cheat but not hurt my wife. And so what can Brian do before he cheats? And I think I've had two friends whose husband cheated on them for like a year each. And both of them got back with their husbands, and the relationship got so much more sexual because they did that. So in effect, who's at fault here? Is it the woman who pulled away and just focused on her kids and focused on all these other things besides herself? Or is it the man who went out and cheated? And is there anybody at fault? Maybe it's something that needed to be done. But what can you do before you cheat? Because I don't think anybody's going to recommend cheating because it's so hurtful for both people to have to go through something like that. So I'm not saying this is an easy concept by any means. And still people are saying, please stand up. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see if anybody else has some other ideas. I never saw you in the porn business. That's because I'm not in the porn business, goofball. Oh my goodness. All right. Do I like the NBA? Sure. Okay. So Bryson's saying talk about it. Obviously, it needs to be talked about. Yes, absolutely. But and you have to say it in a manner that's not going to make the other person feel like they're doing something and they're inadequate. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to get back that, it's like you have this great experience playing the field and dating everybody and having sex with random people and orgies and whatever you did when you were young and free and single. And then it's like you're getting married, and what happens? Is your life over? Why would anybody get married if that was the case? You're going to spend the rest of your life with the same person for the next, 70 years. How are you going to make it work? David, you're coming in. Yeah, great. So Milfman saying role-playing and even making a video and watching it afterwards and living out different fantasies because we all have them. I think that's a great suggestion. That's like, these are real practical, good suggestions. I'm not saying that this is going to change like dramatically. It's not going to make your life dramatic, but I have friends of mine who just, they don't talk about it. And the less that you talk about it, like the more it starts, the time goes by. It's like if you're making if you haven't called somebody, it's going to be a long phone call. You just tend to like, I'll call them next week. And the longer it goes, the longer it is. And then you don't end up calling the person, right? So another thing you can do is, because it's like you want to build up sexual tension, and it's hard to build up sexual tension when you're living just like a normal life with someone. So I would suggest using your phone. I would suggest texting the person, even if you're in the same room. Even if it's in front of your kids, you could text something sexual to your partner or whoever it is, whether male, female, whatever. Just get like that passion back. And I think the biggest turn on and why cougars, older women, are so sought after by younger guys is because the older women seem to be more confident. Older single women especially, they're more confident, and they have certain things they're passionate about, and they have their own life, and it's very intriguing to know that this person has this other life going on. And so that's what I guess Esther Perel was saying as well, is that if you see your partner like in a different light, like you see them as a different person almost, like if you watch your partner do karaoke, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I didn't realize that he could sing like that or she could sing like that. That's a turn on. And then you almost feel like you're with a different person. There was an episode of, I think it was Modern Family, where the couple just decided to pretend that they didn't know each other, and they met like that they just met at the bar. And they started like, role playing at the bar that they just had met each other. And I just remember that I thought it was such a great idea, because it is intriguing then, and it can really spice things up before you have to go out and cheat. But I think that the truth is, someone like Brian is saying, I don't want to hurt my wife, but it is like so tempting to cheat. And there's nothing, by the way, wrong with looking at the menu. It's just like this, you're never going to stop looking at other women or even fantasizing about other women. There's nothing wrong with fantasizing. That's not cheating. In my opinion, it's not cheating. What's cheating can actually be not telling your partner that. What's more hurtful is like building this thing up where you're not telling your partner what's going on, and then you just go out and cheat. So if you're having this need to cheat, if you're having a need to be with other people, if you're having a need to just try experimenting, you need to talk about it before it gets to that point. And maybe even talking about it can turn the other person on. I found that, like, if my boyfriend tells me about stuff that he's done in the past, I think that's very sexual to me. That's very enticing. Why do I like it? And I'm not saying you should do this on the first date. Don't go on the first date and start talking about all your past lovers. But if my boyfriend tells me about, like, certain people that he had sex with and what it was like, to me that's a turn on, because it's validating that he's sexual to other people, and imagining him with other people is it's a sexual turn on. Steve Harvey is clueless and has been divorced at least 3 times. So what does Steve Harvey have to do with this, Milfman? Did I miss something here? Bryson, Bryson saying, I heard that on Steve Harvey's talk show, go on a surrender date. I don't know what a surrender date means. Tell me what that means. David says, I couldn't see myself getting married because I love being on the playing field to have as much sex as possible. And David, just because, there's the thing, marriage, what does marriage mean to one person doesn't necessarily mean it to the other person. But you technically can be married and still continue to play with other people. Marriage just means a commitment, a mental commitment to the other person, an agreement that you have with the other person. And, monogamy is definitely a very tough concept, and it works for many, many people. And at certain times in your life, it's going to work better than others. Like David, it doesn't sound like you want to have a monogamous relationship, and you shouldn't. And you're open and honest about that with yourself. Hi, Ibrahim. You have a need to be with other women, and that's cool. Hello from Dubai. Let's see, what do we got going on? Someone just said, out of the clear blue, fuck you to me. Why? Why ham.mayhem2677 would you say fuck you to me? Let's see. Oh my goodness, these people on Instagram are really getting out of hand here. Open relationships are okay till it goes bad. Mick, how does it go bad? I'm wondering. And I agree. I mean, there's so many pros and cons to any relationship. Like, you could open the door to having sex with other people, and then what happens? Like, it could end up being that you guys are drawn away from each other. There can be all kinds of things. It's a very, let me tell you something. Relationships and the sex part of relationships are really, really hard. So I don't have all the answers. I'm just opening up the dialogue here. Doing romantic stuff with your partner, like surprising them when they come home from work late, light the house with candles, create a spa atmosphere, give them a massage, and then create a nice bubble bath. MILFman, you got it down. MILFman's got some good suggestions here. I guess that's what it is. It's like you never want to get rid of... Like, I always think about, like, the people that have broken up because their sex life got really boring, and then you go, and then they are in new relationships, and all of a sudden they're having sex like freaking rabbits. Why? And they're pretty much with the same people they just got divorced from. Why is that? Bryson, it was from the 50 Shades of Grey episode where you give the man the remote to vibrating panties and give him control. That's cool. That's hot. Paul says, you're great, Karen. Ignore the haters. We respect you. I, of course, am ignoring the haters, Paul. And I'm not at all concerned about it. I just don't understand why somebody would come on someone else's channel and make disparaging comments about them. It's just so silly. Like, if you have this need to throw hate around, go throw it around and, take that energy and put it towards something positive. MILFman saying, because it's something new and it's not something you do every time, which makes it more exciting. And it is kind of, it sounds like it's a tough call, too, to be able to come up with these new and exciting ways to intrigue the other person. But remember what I talked about last week about how important it is to realize, like, mentally, a woman has to be seduced in way different ways than a guy. But, like, I have another friend who's having an affair with a married man right now. And she said it's awesome because he comes over, they used to sit and talk, now they just rip their clothes off, and they have this wild, passionate sex that apparently he doesn't have with his wife. And then they go home. And I just think that most likely he could have that with his wife. He just has to express it instead of just running to this other person, because this other person would be boring. It's the Coolidge effect. I told you guys about the Coolidge effect, right? About Calvin Coolidge, the president, and his wife were walking around a farm, and they said to the and Mrs. Coolidge said to the farmer, "Oh, I see that you've got all these hens, like, and the roosters, like, fertilizing, the hens, and are they doing this every day?" And the farmer goes, "Yeah," and he goes, so she says, "Will you tell that to Mr. Coolidge?" And Mr. Coolidge goes, "Is it with the same hen every day?" And he goes, "No." And he said, "Tell that to Mrs. Coolidge." In other words, if you are with the same person every day, it's just not as exciting as if you're with a different person every day, obviously. So what do you do to make the person that you're with every day be as exciting as if there was a new person every time? That's what the Coolidge effect is. Hey, May, you have to talk. People cheat because of a need isn't being met. You have to be in sync and open to compromise. If there's something you don't want to do in sex, yeah, you have to be open. That's a great call, May. It's true that one person may need something much kinkier or much more intense than the other person. And you got to be willing to try new stuff with each other. And that includes, you can do a lot of stuff without compromising yourself. You can go watch a swingers party, or you could go to an S&N club and see what's going on there. I mean, you could try different stuff with your partner. If your partner is really wanting to change and try new things, you can go to hedonism. There's so many things you can do if one person is completely dissatisfied before that person runs out and cheats. But I think, like what May said, is super important to realize, and that is you need to talk about it first. You can't just run out and cheat and hold it all in. That's the worst part about it is, like, I would hate it if my boyfriend was thinking all these things about our sex life and didn't ever express it to me first, because there might have been things I could have done then to change things. Mr. Piratebrain says, role playing helps. I always fantasize with a hot nurse coming in my room with the old nurse school skit. So sexy. And did you ever tell that to your partner, Mr. Piratebrain? And maybe she'd go out and one day surprise you with like a nurse outfit. Ebro, what's your question? Go ahead and ask it. This is true, Mr. Let's see, wait. Mr. Paul, she's a good person. Oh, Amon's talking about why these people get on Instagram and have to go ahead and bash me and all this other stuff. Paul Sanders, my ex was very depressed. Her sisters were bipolar. Marriage became miserable. Sorry to hear that one, Paul. So, I'm wondering if you, hindsight, looking back, what you could have done to help the situation, or maybe you couldn't help it at all. Maybe, just if someone's severely depressed and doesn't get help and you're with that person, maybe that is going to absolutely affect your ability to be sexual. Yeah, it's hard for anybody to be sexual if they're consumed with depression and anxiety. How can you be relaxed and be yourself and be free and go into your own little selfish sex world if you are not comfortable? So that's why I always say to you guys, the most important thing is to fix yourself first and find out what your passions are and make yourself like happy and positive and bring out all that good stuff, because it'll make you much more sexual. And May is saying, let's see, okay, Wild Weasel, if you neg your girlfriend, we're on negging again, she will always be on her toes looking to please you. No romance needed. Negs only work when the woman doesn't know you are negging them. Wild Weasel talked to us last week about the negging, and we did an entire video on it. Unfortunately, Wild Weasel wasn't on that one. But I don't know about the negging with the girlfriend and how that affects the romance. I'm thinking that's a little negging again, as I said before. I'm not discounting it completely, but I'm saying my gut feelings, 90% of this negging is a game, and I don't believe in games. And you certainly don't want to play it if you're in a long-term relationship with someone. You don't want to neg your wife or your spouse, because they might say, hey, why are you being a dick to me? And you're saying, oh, I'm trying to encourage this romanticism or whatever, or no romance needed. Wild Weasel, seriously, what do you mean no romance needed? Okay, I'm sure I'm misunderstanding some of this stuff, but Mr. Pirate says both are responsible because you have to be attentive to your partner. You definitely have to be attentive to your partner. Absolutely. Be attentive. If you aren't and you're not paying attention, that person is going to have their needs met somewhere else. For heaven's sake, Wild Weasel, May is saying. Yeah, Wild Weasel is very big on the negging. Let's see. Hey, Mr. Piratebrain, you've been watching a lot of Brazzers porn. Listen, I'm not against porn by any means. And I've told you I have my concerns about porn in the sense that I feel like some single guys can get addicted to it and don't want to even bother going into relationships with women. And then when they do, they are coming too fast and they have all kinds of negative repercussions by being so involved with porn. On the other hand, if you are in a relationship and you're watching porn together, that's hot. I mean, if that's, if it's helping you, it's hot. As long as it's not hurting you and both parties are in agreement, do whatever you want to do. Don't listen to these people that say that, it's got to be this, this, and this. You make it your way you want it. If it works for you to bring sex toys in, then bring sex toys in. If it works to watch porn and swing from the chandeliers, then do it. Do whatever was going to make your relationship the strongest. And sexually, I mean, the strongest. No MILF fan, it's always been a fantasy. Oh, make it a reality, Mr. Piratebrain. Nothing is wrong with fantasizing. As a matter of fact, fantasizing is probably the best thing you can do for your relationship. And, sometimes I feel like telling my boyfriend my fantasy, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to go in my own. See, sex is selfish, right? Good sex is, if you're really working, it's a selfish thing. And you should be selfish during sex, because you're going into your own little world when you're trying to focus on your orgasm and focus on your fantasies and all that kind of stuff. It's, you're going to go back and forth like that dance. You're going to be trying to please the person you're with. You're going to be engaging with that person, but you also are going into your own little fantasy world too. So it's a super complicated thing. It's very complicated, but what you don't want it to do is get boring and stale and be the same thing all the time. This is turning into a rousing conversation right now. David, if I can't get my needs met by my partner, I'll get my needs met elsewhere. So, David, I mean, you know yourself, and you know what your needs are. And if you aren't finding those needs, if you aren't getting them met, and you've talked about it with your partner, and it works for you to go on find someone else who can get those needs met, then that's cool. What if he tells you about a past lover 5 years ago? I'm cool with a past lover 5 years ago. As a matter of fact, it's a turn on to me, Mr. Piratebrain. I like it. I get off on that. I get off on thinking that my partner was desired by a lot of women because I'm with him. I mean, we could play games like we can go out. One time we go out and see who gets picked up first. I mean, it to me, those kind of games, and that's what makes sex. See, the problem is that sex and love, as much as we want both of those needs to be like 100%, they almost go against each other, because the more lovey-dovey you are, the less you think of that person as a sexual, animal. So, it reminds me of like the movie, I think it was like Anger Management, or one of those movies with Robert De Niro saying, I can't, my wife wouldn't give me a blowjob. She kisses my kids with that mouth. And so my mistress does that. And that's what I'm talking about. It's that old mentality of my wife has to be this, this pure Madonna, and my girlfriend is the wild sexual beast. And it should be both. You should have both those things. But think about how hard it is to get both those things. Mr. Piratebrain, Steve Harvey is a huge simp. No man respects him. You know what? And I heard he's an asshole. Okay, I'm just saying it. I'm just spreading that out there, and I have no reason to say that. Hey, Ari, how are you? Brothers. Okay. Everyone has had a nurse, a fantasy, teacher fantasy, secretary fantasy. Okay. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff going on here. By the way, remember to like this video. Put 2 thumbs up. If you want to see some like racier pictures and videos, go to my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/KarenLee Potter. Leave Instagram alone, please, Mr. Piratebrain. I don't pay attention to Instagram people if they're going to act rude. There's some people here that are cool people, right? Let's see. There, Lon Justin says, I see you, pretty lady. That's nice. We just ignore the haters. He said, if you cheat on me, I'll cry forever. Let's see. Adam is saying open relationships. Ham.Mayram is still saying show your boobs. Here's AJ Blom. My fiance says she gets wild during sex, but how do I get her to show me her wild side? Good question, AJ Blom. You're getting married to her and you haven't seen her wild side? Well, I wouldn't sign on your marriage certificate until you see that wild side, because by now it's time to see your wild side. You need to talk to her and tell her, hey, if you're engaged to me and be married and getting ready to be married to me, I need to see that wild side come out now. It's just my own thoughts on that. You don't have to agree with me, AJ. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. I had a woman get turned off when I was talking about past sex experiences, and I told her I had the threesome with 2 women. See, Milfman, if you were my boyfriend and you told me that, I'd think that's wild and I would want to hear in detail about it. See, I think that people that get turned off by it they're judgmental because of something within themselves that makes them feel uncomfortable. That's my guess. David, I fantasize a lot whenever I masturbate by looking at pictures of women on my Android phone, nude and semi-nude. Okay. Mr. Piratebrain, Rose, your woman would never understand. What would we never understand, Mr. Piratebrain? I must be missing something here. Paul, every major city has a poly group. Find your local group on Meetup. Take your spouse to a meeting. Find the leader and have a conversation and get everyone's questions answered. No misconceptions. Sure, try it. Try it. You got nothing to lose. I mean, I guess you can have something to lose. If one person is totally into it and the other one's not, then, but still, wouldn't you rather get that out on the table and talk about it than to have one person holding in this desire to go and do something? I mean, it's just, you don't ever want to have regrets in life. And as long as both parties are in agreement, I think it's a good call to talk about things. Let's see. The 80-20 rule, Mr. Piratebrain. What are you talking about? Mr. Piratebrain, you think I don't like girls? Ari. Yeah. That's a good one. Let's see. I'm very perceptive. Thank you. If you're so intelligent, why discuss sex with strangers without being paid to go to school and get paid? Good question, Lon Justin. It's a very good question. Basically, I have a master's degree in social work. I've already had enough schooling, and I certainly had enough schooling I believe that you get many more experiences by going out there in the world and talking to people than you do by sitting behind a pen and paper and being in lectures by people. And I continue to self-educate myself, like I said, about people like Esther Perel. I'm a big believer in always educating yourself, and I watch a ton of YouTube videos and podcasts about sexuality, and at this point I probably can consider myself an honorary doctoral degree in sexology, but I don't believe, again, in the certificate makes the person. It's just like, that's how I feel about marriage. I don't think it's a certificate that makes the marriage any better or worse than a relationship. It's a piece of paper. What does that mean? But I'm glad that you were able to ask that question. I hope that answered your question, Lon Justin. Vincent Zamora, say hi to me. I'm your #1 fan. Awesome. Let's see. Can I come over? Okay. Let's see. Tell us how to get rid of a sex addiction. Oh, that's a Anna. That is a tough one. I guess there are groups that are specifically for people that feel that they are addicted to sex. Are you talking about a porn addiction or a sex addiction? If you're talking about a porn addiction, I tried going a month without it. If that sounds like, oh my God, the thought of it going an hour without it makes me crazy, you might have an addiction to work on. I never want one thing, whether it be like alcohol or weed or porn or any of these things to take over, to the point where they become the focus of my life. So if I can't go a day without drinking, I got a problem. If I can't go a day without smoking, I got a problem. If I can't go a day without porn, I got a problem. That's my own thinking, but, as Justin said, I'm not a doctor, so I just thought I talked about it. Rich, screenshot time, please, boobs. What the fuck? Karen is a perfect woman. Your boyfriend's a lucky man. Thank you, MILF man. I tell him that every day. And he tells me how lucky he is, too. I mean, we do have a wonderful relationship because we're extremely open with each other. To me, I wouldn't want to be with someone who, and again, it's not something I developed overnight. It really takes work. It's hard and it's scary to tell someone what you're desiring. It is. So, like, for example, if my boyfriend said to me, I desire to have sex with Nina Hartley, if it ever came about, I'd say, go have sex with Nina Hartley. You know why? That's her profession. Why wouldn't I want him to learn from a professional? Hello, Princess Etiquette. Hi. A.S. Rose, it's not that I just feel if you have a great pair of breasts, somebody else's boobs aren't as fascinating. Okay. I don't know. Let's see the boobs, please, says Kyle Nelson. What is everyone on this need to see boobs today? Chaitana, ma'am, tell us about how to get rid of porn videos. Okay. Block them on your phone. Set up roadblocks for yourself so that you can't go and watch porn. Make yourself really busy. Go on dates instead of watching porn. You know, if you could go on a website like dating websites, Tinder, whatever you do, and go out with girls, even if you're not getting laid. Just go out and be busy and talk to people, and your mind won't be so focused on porn. I had a guy, and I think I've told this a million times before, who said he'd rather stay home and watch porn than be with me one night. And he ended up coming over, and he was like, what the hell was I thinking? And, you know, it's just easy to think, oh, why should I bother go out and find women when I could just masturbate to porn? But it puts you in a really, really sticky situation, because you're, no pun intended about the sticky situation, but it puts you in a bad situation because you get really used to that instead of being with a real person. And then you turn around and you're all alone with your porn. Paul, today's picture on Patreon is very, very sexy. Join Patreon and check out Karen's swinger picture. Thank you, Paul, my PR manager. Yeah, I do put up a little bit racier pictures on Patreon. So if you're watching this now, go to patreon.com. There's a swinging picture of myself. I don't want to lie and say it's porn, because it's not. But it's not porn. It makes you use your imagination. It's a picture of me swinging, and it makes you use your imagination. So if you want to go there, I'm going to show you how to get there. Patreon. It's right here, actually. Go to patreon.com/KarenLee Potter. Here. Oh, that's not it. This is Esther Perel's statement. It's hard to feel attracted to someone who has abandoned her sense of autonomy. I hope you guys understand what that means. How can you be attracted to someone who's needy and who doesn't know who she is? And I could say the same thing for the guy. A girl's not going to be attracted to you if you're really needy and you don't know who you are. So find out who you are. It's very attractive to someone else. Uh-oh. Why is this, oh, look what time it is. God, I'm so sorry. Time went by quickly today. This has been a wild, wild ride. Make sure to give a thumbs up to this video. Join me on Patreon. I got one Patreon last week. That was a very exciting moment in my life. Josh, for as little as $1, you get a shout out like Josh. And I appreciate people coming on Patreon and continue to support on Patreon like Paul. And it's very, very simple. Just go to patreon.com/KarenLee Potter. Sign up. Make me very happy. Get a shout out. Get all kinds of exotic, tantalizing pictures. They're not that tantalizing, but they're pretty cool. There's some pictures of me and Nina Hartley. So just go there. Please. I don't want to beg. Well said, Rose. I stand corrected. Ari, they stand corrected. Most likely are, since I'm only a B cup. Oh man, we're hitting the road here, guys. We're hitting it. I'm going to take one or two more questions here on Instagram and one or two more questions. I want to fuck your nice ass. No, a question. Hi from Denmark. Let's see. Daptway says relationships are pointless. Thads, you have always had the coolest designs on your yoga pants. Thank you. I love to spend a night with you, babe. All right, so we're not really getting any questions here. Should I tell my partner? Ibra says, should I tell my partner that I watch porn? Of course you should. Ibra, why are you hiding it from her? Do you feel like it's bad? Do you think she'll disapprove? Why do you watch porn? These are questions that need to be answered. Why can't you watch it with her? Amen. Karen, show me the way how to transfer my Dubai, because I'm new here. I would like to contribute as well as make you smile. So go get a prepaid card, a debit card, and use it. I don't know how they do it in Dubai, but you just go to my Patreon page and sign up and use a prepaid card if you don't want anybody to know that, if you don't want your mom to see your bill. So sad. Just got to get out of the pool. Hi, love you too, Sosa Boy. I'm waiting for you to join me on Patreon. I'm waiting for all you guys to join me on Patreon. A lot of you guys are big talkers. I'm going to join you on the Patreon, and you never join. Anyway, how do I talk to my girl into watching porn with me? Do you want to know that too, AJ? Okay. If you shouldn't have to talk to your girl, but you shouldn't have to force her. Just say, this would be fun and great for our sex life. This would be like something fun to do together. She will watch 5 minutes of it and be like fucking turned on. She will be. I think so. But, get her to relax a little. Give her a glass of wine first or something. Maybe she's got this uptight. Ask her why she doesn't like porn. What is she scared about watching it? Does she feel like it's dirty? So what? Just maybe try with soft porn, by the way. Just try, something that's very light, very like 9.5 Weeks or mainstream movies. Why is the Milkman your favorite on live stream? The Milkman. I don't know, the Milkman. Why are you my favorite on live stream? What about a threesome? That's going to be harder to talk her into, AJ Bloom. Let's see. Milkman, another tip to spice up your relationship is to ask your female friend that is in a very sexually satisfying relationship and ask what makes it so exciting, and you might get new ideas for yourself. Not a bad idea. Talk to your friends. I believe in communication. Obviously, I'm a yacker over here, right? I talk a lot. So I totally believe in talking. And the more you talk, the closer you're going to get. What happened with my friends that had these affairs is that it made them super comfortable saying whatever they were holding back to their spouses. And it actually brought them closer together, which is very strange, right? You would think that it would bring people apart, that they had affairs, but it actually in the end brought them closer together. Am I recommending affairs? Not at all. Not at all. I'm recommending talk to the partner before you have an affair. Have you ever had a threesome? If so, how did your first one go? And no, I've never had a threesome. Now, if I decided I wanted a threesome, I would tell my partner, I'm thinking of wanting a threesome. The reason, I'll tell you why I've made out with girls, and to be honest, I didn't really like it. I'm not going to lie. I hope that doesn't destroy anybody's fantasy when I say that. You could continue to pretend that I just haven't found the right one. But I just like men. I guess it could be. What do you think, mama-son sex? I don't like the whole idea of mom and son sex. And lately in porn, that's been like a big topic, and I think it's disgusting. How can you tell if a woman really loves you? That's a very hard question, Wild Weasel. I could tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to neg them. I returned to porn and masturbating to it, Ibra. Well, you tried. Mr. Piratebrain, yeah, Karen, you didn't understand the pun. If your man told you about an affair 5 years ago, but you've been together 9 years. I'm so dense, Mr. Piratebrain. I was thinking that, whatever, you were giving me a hypothetical. What would happen if I was with some guy and he told me about 5 years ago? If my man told me about an affair he had 5 years ago, I would probably be PO'd. All right. And 9.5 Weeks. Ooh, Ari likes that movie. I'm super into my friend's mom, and she texts me dirty all the time. What do I do? Fads, that's a different story. Being with your friend's mom is, she texts you dirty all the time. I don't know what's wrong with, then go for it, I guess, Fads, as long as you just be careful because you don't want to upset your friend. I mean, how close a friend, and, sometimes friends can be, very protective of their mothers, so it's a little sticky there. Just be careful. Mr. Piratebrain says, Karen, if that Instagram guy feels that way, why is he wasting his time listening to someone he doesn't respect? Good point. Good point. Because these guys just love to give me a hard time, Mr. Piratebrain. And who gives a rat's ass? Karen, you should try a BGB threesome. 2 guys. I probably should. You know what? I can never say never, so who knows what I'll be doing in the future. And if I do it, I'll tell you about it. Okay? How's that? I promise. Karen, if that's Sosa Boy, Last Tango in Paris, best hit movie ever. What do you got? Yeah, put in the comment section below your favorite sexy non-porn movies. Like 50 Shades of Grey, like 9.5 Weeks, and apparently Last Tango in Paris. Yeah, I think that was with Stanley Kubrick or Francis Ford Coppola. One of them. I tell my fiance that I had a blowjob before, and my fiancés are virgins. You have 2 fiancés. Ibra, should I tell my fiance that I had a blowjob before? Yes, tell her the whole truth. Come on, don't lie to people that you're getting married to. You're getting married to them for a long time. Let's just at least attempt to go into it with complete honesty. If she doesn't want to get married to you because you had a blowjob, then don't get married to her. It's not the woman for you. Okay? This way went too long. I just realized what time it is. I gotta run. I love you all very much. I hope you join me on Patreon because that is where I put risque pictures. There's a picture of me swinging on Patreon. If you want to see it, you want to see my legs, you gotta go to Patreon. And if you don't know how to do it, go to my website and hit the button that says Patreon. Go to KarenLeePotter.com and there you'll find it. Anyway, bye everyone. Bye David and everybody, and hope you have a wonderful, hot and sexy day. Hope this video helped you. If it didn't, don't tell me about it. No, I'm just kidding. If it did, put it in the description box below. Okay? And is that the one with the butter? Marlon Brando, Sosa Boy. I love you too, Ari. Bye, May. I'm so happy to have my women here. I wish more women would join us. And I have the coolest support team of women on the planet. I got May and Ari here. So if you're a woman watching this later and you want to join me on the live streams, please do. And if you're watching this later, just give it a thumbs up anyway. You're an ass man and you prefer boobs in all sizes. Okay. I love you too very much. And goodbye. Goodbye. Bye, Instagram peeps. Try to be a little more considerate next time. Just try.